What's up guys, Cadence here and welcome back to another unboxing video. I got a bad feeling about this one guys. We have not even opened the box and the first thing I see is a message from USPS saying, "We're sorry your article was damaged during processing." Now, I don't like the sound of that at all. So we're gonna see if anything in this lot made it safely or if this is gonna be another episode of me just yelling at a box full of broken trains, which get a lot of views. So that might not be the worst thing, but all right, we have got the tape off this box. And the first thing I noticed is this is definitely just totally full because the first thing that it did was the box basically expanded like at least an inch. So clearly a lot of stuff was put into this box. I'm really hoping the stuff made it okay. It looks like it was at the very least individually wrapped here, but how good this wrapping is, I'm not sure. It looks like it's just paper towels. So, you know, cross your fingers, guys. This could get hairy here. We'll start with, you know, this piece here. And off the bat, I'm not seeing anything wrong. This is a reefer, a roundhouse kit. Okay, one piece down, and I'm not seeing any issues. So that is good. That's a good start. But I think we've got like 40 items in this lot to look at. So we could turn south really, really quickly here. We'll go for the second piece here. And here is a New Haven box car. Again, not seeing anything wrong with this, so that's good. It's actually a neat little freight car. I think it's made by, what's Revell? That's very interesting. That's pretty cool. I've never had this before. You know, of course, the New Haven box car that immediately comes to mind is always the Tyco one, the super, super common one. Here is gonna be our first locomotive of the collection. That was kind of what caught my eye in this collection was the engines that are in it. And this is definitely one of the most unique ones or the most cool ones. This is an Amtrak E unit by Concord. Believe that's going to be an E8 or an E9. Pretty sharp engine. I mean, I'm a big fan of the old school Chevron Amtrak paint scheme. Trucks are being a little weird there, but yeah, this is just a non-powered locomotive, but it looks really, really sharp. I'm not sure either what's up with the headlight. I don't know if it's just some sprue that's left over on there or something. No idea what's up with that, but very happy that this made it here safely. That's a pretty sharp engine. My favorite Amtrak paint scheme, personally. I always liked seeing the Phase 1 Heritage units whenever it would roll through Northern Virginia. Okay, I'm a little bit calmed down now because we've made it, what, 3 items and there's been no sign of difficulty. And usually the stuff on top is what gets hurt the quickest because it's what's closest to, you know, being laid on by other things and whatever. Here's a Mantua car, one of the old-timer Mantua cars, Pennsylvania Railroad, a little bit of a wood-sided gondola here. Pretty unique freight car, never had this before. You know, thankfully, I mean, a coupler's busted, but that's pretty simple to fix. All of the bottom separately applied details and the handbrake have made it completely unscathed. So I'm actually feeling rather good now that we've seen a couple things and hopefully, you know, there are no major damages going forward because there's a lot of cool things in this lot that I really, you know, would like to have on my shelves in good condition. Here's another kind of old timer car. A wheel has just gone awry there, so we'll just pop that back in there. Thankfully, not a big deal. Union Pacific old timer flatbed here, kind of the same genre as that Pennsylvania we just looked at. Again, not seeing any issues with the detail here. The brake wheel's gone, but I think that was already gone to begin with because I'm not seeing it floating around in here or anything. So yeah, I'm feeling quite a lot better than I was a few minutes ago because I was, to be frank, very concerned. I mean, that sticker did not leave me with much hope at all. Here is another one of the really cool engines from this collection. And it is, as you can see, oh boy, I just saw a piece fly off. Okay. Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, here's where I guess we're going to start to see some issues. And, oh, that sucks, dude. Wow. That's a real bummer. So this is a Old Towne Amtrak P42, or I guess a P4. No, it's a P42 because it's in the 100 series. Yeah, that's not supposed to, oh, God. Okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, this is, you know, I think this is what they were warning us about in the little sticker they put on this box. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so on the plus side, the shell is in fully intact condition. On the downside, everything under the shell is totally screwed up. So, wow, that's not very ideal. Okay, so that might be our first omen of maybe some bad things to come here, but I'm going to stay positive here and hope that everything else arrives safely because we have gotten mostly good things so far. Nothing has been damaged besides that Amtrak unit. Here is an Athearn Blue Box F unit. It's a dummy. It's with the Lehigh Valley Railroad, of course. Never had this either. This is a pretty sharp locomotive here. Love the Lehigh Valley paint scheme. Athearn Blue Box, you know, we hype it up on this channel because we love Athearn Blue Box on this channel. Probably the best budget, you know, HO scale option, if you will. Even though budget might not be the right word because some of the pieces can actually go for a decent dollar still. I definitely sell a lot of Athearn Blue Box in the store. Here is another Athearn Blue Box locomotive, another F unit, and I believe it's going to be another dummy F unit. This is the really sharp Canadian National paint scheme here. The old school CN paint scheme, much before the, you know, Pac-Man logo came along or anything like that. I think the Pac-Man logo is CP. Forget I said that. This is sharp though. Really enjoying this. Paint's pretty nice on it for being, you know, a 50-year-old locomotive. Yeah, totally content with that. So hopefully we're back on a winning streak, if you will, of things not being totally busted. Yeah, I don't really like how this is all just kind of laid in here, to be honest. But, you know, we'll have our doubts. But let's try to stay positive here and see what we can find in this collection. Here is yet another kind of old-timer car, a little bit more modern. I mean, if you can even say that about an REA car. Pretty nice little freight car. Actually, it's not even REA, it's Wells Fargo. This is cool. I like this a lot. This is probably AHM. No, it's probably Roundhouse, if I had to guess. I can't see a brand on there, but this made it in good shape. Everything looks great on this. The couplers are a little bit busted, but I'm sure somebody would actually probably put knuckles on that anyways to get rid of the horn hooks on there. Let's move on to our first passenger car. This one being an undecorated car. I believe it's going to be an IHC. We got something very similar in a recent haul. That's one of these sort of old-timer observation cars. Missing the back panel there, unfortunately, but everything else in this is actually in good shape. I like the, you know, kind of Art Deco windows on this style of passenger car. That really stands out, so totally happy with that. Here is another one of the oh, come on. I don't even know if the camera caught that, but the truck cover just fell off this thing. This is an Athearn Blue Box Dash 9, and it's in the Norfolk Southern, the OG Thoroughbred paint scheme, and it's actually a custom, I believe, and it looks pretty good. One of the truck covers did just fall off and totally disappear somewhere. Actually, I see it floating around under my table. Okay, it looks very salvageable, thankfully. This was definitely one of the standout engines in this collection. I rarely get Norfolk Southern stuff through. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. The trucks on this feel a little bit stiff. I'm not entirely sure what's up with that, but most of the handrails did survive on this. It's a pretty solid custom. My one thing is I don't know if NS-9s ever went into the 8800 series. I think they all started at, at 9,000, didn't they? Or maybe did they? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments, guys. To my knowledge, the 8000 series were all Dash 8s. So kind of a little confused about that, but I mean, that's very nitpicky of me to even notice. Here is another locomotive, probably one of the less exciting ones. This is another sort of custom endeavor here of the Blue Bonnet Santa Fe paint scheme. It looks like maybe half of it's custom, and then like the front half was what originally was supposed to be on it, and then they painted on a new kind of war bonnet scheme. That's pretty interesting. Again, non-powered. I think this is an Old Man to a Tyco one. So yet another F unit. F units are pretty common in HO scale. They're probably the most produced engine in that scale, or really any scale. Okay, here we're getting into more damaged territory. Yeah, let's get this unwrapped here. It's another one of these New Haven box cars, which I was actually pretty keen on, but unfortunately one of the trucks has been a little bit sort of destroyed in shipping. Thankfully, it's not a huge repair issue. I'm just going to pop the wheels in here and then close the doors on them so that when I sell it, they at least have the wheels with it. But, okay, so far, the P42 was definitely a loss, but everything else has been okay. So, I am not too discouraged yet. Here we have a River Rossi boxcar, I believe, AHM boxcar. The Green Giant billboard boxcar. Actually, I never had this before. This is definitely one of the more obscure billboard cars. This probably came with like a grocery store set or something. I'm going to talk about grocery store sets in a future video because I actually have one that I've been meaning to do a video on and talk about kind of my issue with them and everything. So we'll talk more about that kind of thing in that video. But for now, happy to have that here. Here is another AHM car. This is one of the probably the most common AHM cars that I get, the little green Santa Fe wood-sided box car. This one seems to be fully complete with the brake wheel and the walkway on top, the catwalk. This actually is probably one of the better condition ones of these I've seen. It looks like it's even got all 4 step ladders on it, so that's a total win. Usually those come in and they're missing at least a step ladder, if not more. So I'm very, very happy that that's come here and is in good shape. Here it looks like we have a Shell tanker. Love getting Shell tankers in just because it's still a company that very much exists and is still huge in Americana. This one I think is going to be one of the old school Mantua ones, judging by the metal chassis and the separately applied metal handrails. I believe when Tyco took over that design, they became all plastic. So that's cool to have one of the kind of old school ones in. Here is yet another B unit. I think this is our 3rd B unit in this collection, and yet another dummy, but that's okay. This is an Alco PA B unit for Union Pacific. This one I think is going to be Athearn Blue Box. The Athearn Blue Box PAs look really good in my opinion. I'm quite fond of those. I love the Alco PA in general. I think it's a really, really clean looking locomotive. I just felt a piece of whatever is in this package like shift a little bit. So, oh, well, it's okay. It doesn't really matter if it did or not because this is probably like one of my least favorite locomotives ever made. This is actually a dummy. I don't usually get the dummies of this in. This is a lifelike engine. This is one of probably just like the worst lifelike engine. I mean, look at the truck just snaps out. The wheels like barely want to spin. I mean, I know you guys sometimes get confused why I don't like lifelike stuff, but this is just not a great locomotive here. Yeah, that would not have really been a loss if that broke. I wish we could sacrifice that for the P42, but it is what it is. I'm still happy to have a complete locomotive in there. I was a bit worried when I picked it up. I felt like something had just moved. Here is a Lehigh Valley locomotive. I believe it's going to be the powered A unit to that B unit that we just got earlier. This is actually a Varney engine, and somebody left a comment on a recent video explaining that these are band-driven locomotives or something like that. Definitely a very, very retro style here. It's pretty cool though. Minimal oxidization on the metal parts down here. Usually these just cake up really quick with corrosion just because of whatever material they're made out of, but that one's actually not bad. It still rolls a lot more freely than they usually do. I see probably the best engine in this lot right here, and it's falling out of the bubble wrap, and I'm really scared to pick it up, but it actually looks like we're gonna be okay. This is a Mexico Rail Runner, New Mexico Rail Runner rather, F59. This is by Athearn. I've actually got one of these in the store now in the Cascades paint scheme, Amtrak Cascades. This was really one of the standouts in this collection for me and sort of why I picked it up. And I'm actually pleasantly surprised because this seems to be in a lot better condition than I was expecting. When I saw it kind of poking out of the bubble wrap, I was very concerned, but that seems to be in good shape. Unfortunately, the Cascades one I have has like stripped gears or something in it, so it needs some work. I'd love it if that one ran perfectly. That'd be really, really nice because that's a really great engine, relatively high-end locomotive there. So I would certainly like to have a perfectly working example of the F59s by Athearn in the store. Here is another Tyco piece, and it's already falling apart in my hands. That's awesome. This is the Chattanooga Choo Choo diesel variant. Of course, you know, the less realistic of that line. You know, this is a pretty common issue with Tyco engines is that the truck covers will fall off, and that's honestly not the worst problem ever. At least we have it. This is actually a pretty decent condition example of this locomotive. Like I said in a recent video when we got the Coming Around the Mountain SD24, the handrails on these are always the first to go, so that's pretty cool that they're all here except for the back ones, which are in my opinion the least important from an aesthetic standpoint. The horn and bell are also all there, so as far as I'm concerned, this is a pretty great example of the Chattanooga Jeep from Tyco. So that's very, very helpful. Also, fun little trivia on these. The 5628 number on every Tyco Jeep is in the Conrail font. So little random fact there for you if anyone cares about that. We're going to go ahead and grab this bundle here. This feels like it's going to be another, actually, no, it's not a passenger car. It's a Bachmann covered hopper, Santa Fe covered hopper. Pretty nice, actually. It's from the Taiwan era, so probably early 90s. I think this came with like the Overland Limited set with that big UP Mohawk that never existed. I never totally understood that train set, to be honest, but I know it's a Bachmann classic. I think they still make it today, which is wild to me, but here is a Santa Fe Shock Control boxcar. This is not the generic stupid lifelike one that we get all the time. This is actually a blue box kit, I believe. Missing the brake wheel, but that's a super easy find. And other than that, it's actually pretty unique. The wheels on this remind me of the Whirly wheels on some of the Lionel Post 4 items. My friend Dale was kind of explaining to me how you can tell the era of a Lionel post-war piece by what kind of wheels are on it, which I never knew, but that's pretty awesome that somebody can recognize that. Here's an IHC locomotive, another Santa Fe engine. This is an SD40-2. Unfortunately, speaking of handrails, most of the ones on this are totally shot, but I think it was like that already. Of course, the only ones that are left are probably the most arbitrary ones. This is just a little piece by the cab. Other than that, this is not in the best shape, but these IHC engines are actually not horrible running locomotives. Up next, I think we got another boxcar here. This is, yeah, I already see this is a very, very common one. This is one of the Tyco 50-footers. El Capitan Santa Fe paint scheme. I get these all the time. I probably have like a dozen of those in the store right now. Not too much to talk about there. Here is another Tyco piece, another one of the really, really common ones. This is the trailer train Santa Fe flatbed. This is the one that goes with the trailers that can roll on it, which is pretty nice. This actually, rarely do I get both of the kind of trailer holders in, and this is actually in pretty good shape. All the handrails and step ladders are on there too, so I'm actually happy about that. Even though that's a common Tyco piece, I'm glad to have it in good shape. Here is another flatbed. This one looks like something I've never had before. I just saw something interesting written on it, actually. Yeah, this is actually a U.S. Navy flatbed. I've never seen one of these in HO. I've gotten the Lionel ones a number of times, but I don't know of the brand of this off the top of my head, but I like getting military stuff in because the store is fairly close to Fort Campbell military base in Clarksville. So it's cool to get things relating to that in the store. That's a cool little flatbed. I've never seen that in HO scale. Here is the way more common version of that shock control box car that I mentioned earlier. Not too much to say there. That's a very, very standard freight car, but I know Santa Fe does have its fans, so not going to complain about that. Here is one of the more rare Mantua Tyco cars, and this is one of my favorites. I do love the Monon. I have great memories of VCU Rail fan and I exploring the abandoned Monon up in Indiana a couple years ago. And this is a really nice example of this. It looks like all the step ladders, oh, I stand corrected. They're all there on one side, but on this side they are snapped off, and it's actually missing a couple or two. A little bit of corrosion going on the bottom here as well, but I do love the Monon. I do love this gondola. One of my favorite of the early Tyco pieces right there. Definitely one of the more uncommon ones as well. Up next, another, nope, cattle car. I was gonna say box car, but we've actually got a cattle car here. This is a Bachmann, I believe. Actually, no. This is not a Bachmann. Bachmann did a very similar car in the 90s and 2000s, but this is not it. I think this is going to be like a blue box kit, or maybe, let's see, I can't see exactly what it says on the bottom there, but that's pretty nice. I like that more than the Bachmann one, just solely for the fact that it's got some metal parts on it, whereas it's not just totally plastic. Here's our next engine. I'm curious what's in this. I kind of, ooh, okay, we got an early Tyco in here, a late Mantua early Tyco example of that Jeep, the Union Pacific kind this time. I've gotten this through a few times, and this is a pretty nice example of it. Handrails are missing, unfortunately, as well as the front. Yeah, the more I look at this, I actually don't think it's that great of an example of this locomotive. Truck covers missing, of course. Thankfully, the bell and horns are still there, but they are on their last legs, unfortunately. This does have some good weight to it, though. These old Mantua engines usually did have a nice weight to them. They do run, you know, fairly well if you can get them greased up and everything. Well, here's a very peculiar one. This is a Penn Central car. I can already see by that classic logo there, but this looks like an AHM or an IHC car, and I never really understood what this car would have been used for in real life. I'm looking for somebody now to go comment down below, because I know somebody's gonna know. Fortunately, this has arrived unscathed. It looks like all of these, you know, relatively fragile plastic construction on there is all together, which is nice. This is definitely an AHM car. It's neat. Never had it before, but I can't say that I'm familiar with that style of freight car. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this just because it's already like peeking out of the paper towel. I'm really not a fan of the paper towel wrapping so far. It hasn't really been a big deal though. This is a Lionel HO car, I believe, or maybe it's AHM. It's one of those two. BN hopper, like this a lot. BN is a good railroad to have in the store. A lot of people seem to have been really enjoying the BN stuff recently, especially just the straight up green BN. I think people don't realize, or rather people like green trains, and there's not a whole lot of green freight cars and engines out there. So very happy about that. Here's an ultra common one, the Tyco Virginian 2106. I mean, this is like, you know, kindergarten in terms of HO scale stuff. That's like baseline, you know, everybody's got to have one. Up next is another box car, it feels like, or a reefer rather. Another really nice billboard one here. Looks like a butter company of some sort. Land O'Lakes. Just sweet cream butter. This feels like probably a kit, maybe a Varney piece. I like that the handrails are separately applied on there, and they are both there, as well as the brake wheel. We're gonna grab this one here. It feels like another reefer or boxcar of some sort, and it looks like it's gonna be actually a very similar reefer. Looks to be probably the same variety of car here. This one is North American Dispatch Pluto Water. Never had this one either. That's a very, very unique car. Does that say Mantua on the bottom there? Yeah, that's a Mantua car. I'm surprised. I really would have guessed Varney or maybe Rivarossi or something on that, but certainly not complaining. I love the old Mantua stuff. Here's a beast of an engine, and definitely probably one of the standout engines. Probably this, the NS, and the F59 are really what caught my eye in this collection. This is a Southern Pacific E unit, and it's in the not the daylight scheme, but it's actually very uncommon red and silver paint scheme. Maybe a proto locomotive. Yeah, definitely a proto 2000 or probably 1000 locomotive. Unfortunately, the shell is falling off, but it looks like it's actually in good shape, so somebody could easily put this back together. Yeah, I'm not totally sure how great a condition this is in. The more I look at it, I feel like some of the trucks might be a little bit loose. Not too bad. I'm thankful that it's in this condition. It is missing the cow catcher at the front though, or whatever you want to call that on a diesel. I always am just going to call it a cow catcher. Up next is something that we need to open alongside that, because I believe it's going to be something that oh great. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the things falling on this. This is another proto locomotive, and of course it's a proto locomotive because it directly goes with what we just opened. It is the B unit to that SP A unit in a little bit of rough condition here. The truck is falling apart on there, unfortunately. I can't tell if this was a custom or not. The paint here looks like it might have been customized a little bit, and this is unfortunately falling apart just a tad, so certainly not ideal. If I was going to pick between the E unit or the B unit and the A unit being nice, I would definitely prefer the A unit though. So not the worst case scenario. Whatever this is tiny, and I can now see why. It is a bobber caboose, something I rarely get, but something I'm quite fond of. I think these are very, very cute. This is probably going to be either a Bachmann or maybe an AHM one. Santa Fe, very, very standard paint scheme for a caboose, but rarely do I get the bobber style caboose in. So here's a tender for an engine that, if I remember correctly, isn't actually in this collection. I do actually have some steam locomotives that need tenders, so maybe we can match something up with this. This is a Bachmann tender for a Union Pacific engine, probably one of the Mikados they did, or maybe like the 482s or 480s or something. Not entirely sure. It might even be for 06 though, the more I think about it. They did do a lot of varieties of tenders with those locomotives. So that could really be for anything. I'm looking forward to seeing if I can match up a engine with that tender. Here's one of, like, again, the ultra common ones, the Ralston Purina from Tyco. Not too much to say there. We've gotten plenty of those recently. That'll probably be like a $3 car in the store. Here is another box car or reefer. Looks like a box car. Looks like maybe a Varney box car or early Mantua. And it is a Great Northern box car in this nice little silver paint scheme. Never had this before. Typically Great Northern stuff has that awesome paint scheme with the goat on it. I don't know what it's called, but maybe the Hustle Muscle paint scheme is what we would call that. Not a bad little car there. This is definitely probably going to be Varney or maybe Mantua. I'm not sure. Up next, we have a flatbed. I think this is one of the Bachmann heavy-duty ones. Oh, and perfect. It's in the best railroad that it could have been in. I get these frequently in the Great Northern scheme. I just saw a couple pieces fall off of this, which isn't great. But Louisville and Nashville, the railroad that I look for more than anything. So even though it's a 90s Bachmann piece, obviously not the best kind of quality or anything on that. But just the fact that it's Louisville and Nashville alone makes it very, very worthwhile for me. Speaking of Great Northern and the hustle muscle kind of scheme on these engines, here is kind of exactly what I was talking about. Unfortunately, it's a little bit broken. This is a Bachmann one from the 90s. GP30, one of my favorite Jeep, actually definitely my favorite Jeep model. I love the added kind of action going on up there. Unfortunately, this does need some help, so we will be selling this as a parts locomotive, but does have some handrails, does still have the brake lines and brake, whatever you call that. And yeah, the horns are on there too. Honestly, other than the truck literally falling out, it's not too bad. I love that paint scheme. What a great paint scheme, especially on a GP30. I've never had that before. That might even be early Spectrum. The more I look at it, I don't think that was I think that was a Spectrum. I don't know if that was just mainline Bachmann. That might have been something a little bit higher end from them. Here is another dummy B unit for the Santa Fe Railroad. War bonnet scheme, super, super common. Santa Fe stuff is pretty much just a dime a dozen. People still do like to collect it though. Here's another reefer. I believe it's going to be another one of those Mantua ones that we saw earlier, and it is for some Borden's fine sheets. I've gotten Borden's cars before, but I can't remember if I've gotten this one particularly in. It does have some nice separately applied stuff going on there. Brake wheel is still intact as well, so totally fine about that car. Definitely a fan of that. Yet another flatbed here for us. I gotta be honest, guys, a lot less is broken here than I was expecting. I was really worried that there was just gonna be some shattered stuff in here, but thankfully everything is in really, really sellable condition. Here's another flatbed, Santa Fe, ATSF, not too much to say there. You know, definitely the most common railroad for HO scale products. So not too much that can be said there that I haven't already said in this and in other videos. Here's a unique one. This is definitely like a Mantua car. Yeah, I see Mantua there on the bottom. First of all, unique kind of truck design there, but it's an ACL car. I don't get ACL cars in a whole lot, especially cattle cars. I just got a few ACL cars recently, if you'll remember from a recent video that I had those in, so certainly happy about that. And here's another kind of oddity for us. This is probably going to be another Tyco car with that weird, you know, European style coupler. It's a Santa Fe and Disneyland car. Wow. This is very unique indeed. I've never seen this before. This is a common, you know, tooling for a HO passenger car for the old timer sets, but this is not a marking that I've seen on this car before. I don't know if that was like something that Disney commissioned from Tyco, or if they just went ahead and did it as part of their, you know, mainline run or what, but that's a pretty cool thing. Disney stuff is cool because it definitely crosses over into other fan bases and other kind of hobbyists, but I'm certainly okay with that. This is a tank car. I believe it's going to be like a blue box kit of some sort. U.S. Army, again, another sort of military related car. I never have seen that in HO either. Usually military stuff seems to sort of go more in the O scale direction, so I'm pretty excited to have some HO military stuff. I don't always get that. I did just recently have a really cool flatbed with like tanks on it though, so that was actually an exception. I think it was a model power car. Here is what might be the last engine in this lot and the only steam engine. I have very nostalgic memories of this kind of locomotive, the Lifelike tea kettle, because I remember my mom's student when I was very young bought me one of these, and it was just always something that I really liked. It never did run, the one that I had, and the more I think of it, I don't think I've actually ever had one of these that runs come through the store. But this is a little Baltimore and Ohio Lifelike tea kettle. A track nail is magnetically sticking to the back of that, which is a bit odd, but this is probably one of the nicer examples of these that I've had come in. It's a really pretty little engine, so I wish that they ran better. I wish they ran at all. I've literally never seen one run as far as I'm aware. I think we're gonna have an old timer car here, and I think it's gonna be something very similar to what we've got in a recent video. Actually, it's almost identical to something that we got in a recent N-scale video that I did. This is a nice little Santa Fe, I don't know if it's a barrel car is what you'd call this or what, but definitely fits the old timer line. This is something we actually got basically an identical model of in N-scale recently, although this is a Mantua and the last one that we got was Tyco, but relatively the same tooling, same kind of concept overall. Here is a really unique thing. I don't get a lot of HO ore cars. I got tons of O-scale ore cars, but usually not HO ones. This is a really nice little BN ore car. Probably a roundhouse kit. Never had this before. Never even seen that before. That's a really nice car. I'm quite a fan of that. I'm about to run to class, so I'm going to quickly go through these last few pieces here. Okay, Lifelike Santa Fe Caboose, probably the most common piece of rolling stock of all time. It's breaking, but I really don't care. That's, you know, that's like grade A kind of ultra common stuff. There's the cover for our Jeep there actually, so that's good to know that we have that. Here is yet another passenger car with the old timer look and also the European couplers on it. Another Tyco piece. Central Pacific, that's a pretty cool one actually. Yeah, very pleased with this. Nice detail on the bottom, all intact. We've just got a handful more items in here, and I think we've actually, maybe just one more item. Is this a t-shirt? This was unexpected. This was not, what? This was not supposed to be included in this train collection. This is a Banana Republic crop top. Well, that's about the weirdest way we could have ended this lot, guys. I was not expecting a Banana Republic shirt in here. What in the world, guys? Huh. That's really the weirdest way I've ever entered a train hall. There's the title for this video. Why was this in this box? That was not supposed to be there, but whatever. I'm sure I can, I don't know, find a customer for this, I guess. That's very odd. Well, that's probably the weirdest thing we've ever seen in a model train haul, but hey, but sometimes you got to end on a weird note. That is quite peculiar. However, guys, everything else in this lot was a success in my opinion. I was very, very nervous. That sticker really scared me, but thankfully everything except for that Amtrak unit seemed to be in okay condition. So I'm very, very happy with this collection. If you like what you saw, it'll be in my train store. I would love to see you at my store. And if you're ever in the area, swing on by. But until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for your continued support. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.